Hey, my name is Cohen, and I've taught tens of thousands of authors and writers how to publish their books. And you're making a huge mistake if you're only considering publishing one nonfiction book. And I'll explain why in this video. So before I get there, right, as I said, I've taught tens of thousands of people how to self-publish their books, fiction and nonfiction. And I actually have a community of just under 20,000 people over at publishlikeapro.com. And I want to invite you to join my community for free if you're an author, if you're a writer, if you're someone that's considering publishing digital content. And recently in my community, here's the post I put up. And it says, "Don't publish a book, publish a series. Who can tell me why series publishing is the way to go?" And again, I've got over or just under 20,000 authors and writers and smart people that are part of my publishlikeapro.com community. And I want to read off some of the answers that um, came in the comments. And then I'm going to expand on some of these as well. Right. So Bill McClocken says, because nothing quite sells the first book as well as the second book does. And that's one of the reasons why, if you're writing or considering publishing nonfiction, you don't just want to publish one book. Right. And then I've got, let's see, Wendy Forfer says, I can make my material into a series. I've already been quoted in a magazine article about it as having said, I've had so much participation from people sending in their stories, it could be a series, right? And she's kind of talking about fiction. I'm specifically talking about nonfiction in this video, and I'm going to show you how you can actually get to a point where you're publishing a nonfiction series, as many of my students have done as well, right? Nan Camera says, because no one wants the story to end. And again, fiction or nonfiction, right? And in this case, um, we're talking about nonfiction. No one wants it to end. So if you think about some of the many nonfiction authors that are out there, you look at Tim Ferriss, right? Who started with the 4 Hour Work Week, and then he went into all of his other books within that series. No one wanted it to end, the first one, right? You look at Tony Robbins, who has multiple books. No one wants his books to end. Even if they're talking about different subject matters, they're all in alignment with one another, right? Here's my good friend Deborah Cole, who says credibility. So being known as the authority on the subject. And then she goes on and she says, funny, I wrote the social media trilogy, but over a decade, right? So even funnier, my last book was my easiest bestseller by far because the world finally caught on to social media being a legit thing to paying attention to, right? So, um, here's another one, right? This is from Denise Scholarships. So she says also a series of books, same title but different subtitles can be copyrighted. Single titles cannot. This is in the US. Now, again, right, you take it with a grain of salt, but here's all of the different reasons why people are saying that series publishing is the way to go. People that are in my group, publishlikeapro.com. Here's Angela England. She says, build an audience from book one for books two and three and four, which is super smart, right? And it's one of the main reasons why you want to go in and publish a series and not think about just these one-off books, right? If you think about most of your authors that do really well in the nonfiction realm, right? Nonfiction, someone like Dr. Benjamin Hardy. This is one of my favorite books, 10x is easier than 2x. He realizes that publishing one book is like hoping that you go into the gas station and you buy one lottery ticket, right? And what do most people do? Most people go in and they'll buy multiples because they know that it increases their chances of winning. Publishing more than one book, particularly if it's in a series format, increases your chance at getting number one, a reader to recognize who you are, recognize the book, right? Number one, that's it. And then, as Angela England said in my group over here, she says, because you build this audience from book one for books two, three, four, five, six, seven, right? So the people that come in and they find book one of Dr. Benjamin Hardy's series of books, they now are more inclined to go in and buy book two, three, four, five, and including myself. I bought maybe about six or seven of his books. I'm trying to see if I have any of his other books here on my desk. I actually don't, but I bought a ton of his books, right? A ton of his books because the first one that I bought, which was not coincidentally 10x is easier than 2x, I think it was, what's the first book that I bought? but it ended up just being one of my favorites, so I ended up buying others. All right. Rusty Knox, who's also in my group, right? Publishlikeapro.com. He says cliffhangers make the reader want to buy the next book like right now, right? Like right now. And again, we're talking about nonfiction here, but one of the other books that I have on my other bookshelf over here is The E-Myth, right, by Michael Gerber. So when I first read The E-Myth, which is all about having the right individuals in your business, at the end of it, I wanted more. I didn't want it to stop. So I immediately went over to Amazon. I typed in Michael Gerber, I typed in The E-Myth, and I saw that luckily he had other books that he had published that were in alignment with The E-Myth. And I went in and I bought three more of his books like this. All right. So the easiest person to sell is the individual that just completed your book or they're halfway into your book and they just don't want it to stop, right? As Deb said, right? They just don't want it to, I think that was Deb. Um, let's see, who was it? No, it was Nan Camera. So she says, because no one wants the story to end, right? They just don't want it to end, and you're giving them so much value that they want it to continue. Now, that's the key, right? You have to start off by giving them value. If you give them value, then people want to reciprocate. And the only way that they know to reciprocate is by continuing to go in and buy more of your books, as I did with Michael Gerber's The E-Myth, right? Denise, I just read off Denise's, who said a series of books, same title with different subtitles, can be copywritten. Let's see. I've got Karen who says when a reader enjoys a book, the very next thing they want to do is to continue the journey. One book sale can turn into five. That's my number one favorite reason for publishing series. Now, I put together a program, a course called Kindle Classroom. You may have heard of it. It's been around forever, and I've continued to update it. But what we talk about in the Kindle Cashflow program is just that. It's like the easiest person to get to buy again and again and again is the person that bought from you the first time. The hardest person to get is the person who's never purchased from you, right? You've got to go in and convince them to know, like, and trust you. And once they know, like, and trust you, only then, and if the timing is right, do they go in and they buy from you. But the person that already has gone through that, right? They know, like, and trust you. And if you've ever purchased anything from me, right, that's where you are at. And if you've purchased multiple things from me, you're past that level know, like, trust me, and you know that I'm going to deliver on the goods, right? So that's where you get to bring your reader. The first book, they now know, like, and trust you, providing that the value is there, right? Providing that you're publishing what we call HQ in my community, and that's high quality. So providing you've got value and it's high quality, they know, like, and trust you once they start to read the first couple of chapters of your book, and then boom, they don't want that story to end. They don't want it to end. They want more, right? Um, who else? Betty Powell says, because when your reader loves your book, they want more of your books, especially ones like the ones they just read, right? Speaks to my example of the E-Myth. Karen Newbar says, just began my first series. I plan to bring it over to Kindle Publishing 30 days after the last episode is up. I planned out 210 episodes, 70 episodes per series. He's talking about publishing to Vella. Um, let's see. Justin Trivett says, who's right here in North Carolina with me, he says, sell each book separately, then create a compilation of all the books in the series and sell that compilation for a higher price. Yeah, so that's something that we teach. And Justin actually got that from our Kindle Castle training. So here's what you can do, right? You can actually come here, and I'm going to raise my desk up a little bit. But if you're a nonfiction writer, let me get one of my. I'm going to use red. All right, we'll use red here. So if you're a nonfiction writer and you're considering publishing one book, you are pretty much dead in the water before you even start. Before you even start, you're pretty much dead in the water. There's so much competition out there. There's people that are just extremely good writers. There's people that are great at marketing. There's people that are, right? If you talk about great writers, you talk about marketing. There's people that are good writers and good marketers, and they're willing to sacrifice the sell. So what I mean by that is they're willing to shortcut and undercut the price. They're willing to go in and sell their good book, high quality book, for the lowest price that they could ever put it at, right? Which makes no sense to me. sometimes. Um, and then there's people that, they're just going to be in this category. They're just going to be the individuals that put out one book and they're going to hope and they're going to pray, right? And they're going to do all types of things, hoping that this book catches off and it gets them the attention that they want, right? And again, it's just like the lottery ticket example. I said, the more books that you go in, it's just like the more lottery tickets, right? And this is my little drawing of a book here, right? The more books that you have, you got book one, right? So dead in for water, that might be book one. Book two might be dead in heat, right? And this is book two. This is book three, right? And this is book four, right? Someone comes in and they find book four, like the version of the E-Myth that I bought initially wasn't the first version that he published, that Michael Gerber published. It was like his second or third. But people can come into your second, your third, your fourth, your fifth, your sixth book, and if it's good, if it's HQ, then now they want to go back and they want to buy book number one. That's a terrible arrow, ain't it? Then they want to go buy book number two, book number three, and sometimes they'll buy all of them at the same time, as I did with Michael Gerber's books. And this is why it's easier to sell someone who already knows, likes, and trusts you. They found one of your books, right? This is why it's easier. This is why some authors, they'll sell so many more books than other people will, right? Think about it. Who has a higher potential of selling more books? The person who publishes just one book or the person that publishes multiple books? It doesn't take a lot of common sense, right? It's the individual that publishes more books because you have more visibility. You've got four, five, six times the chances of someone finding one of your books. So I know right now you're probably wondering, you're like, well, hey, Ty, well, yeah, that's fine and all, but it's taken me forever just to get my one book together. And that's because you're also doing that wrong. You're also doing the writing of your book. You're doing the creation of your book, the publishing of your book, the marketing of your book wrong. And I'm holding a special event. It's gonna be a 5 day, maybe a 6 day challenge in which I'm gonna show you how to go in and not only publish your fiction or nonfiction series the right way, but I'm also going to show you how to get your books created. Um, in a much shorter time period than anything that you're doing right now. All right. And I'm also going to show you how to go in and get those things out there so that you start getting the visibility that you need. You start potentially getting the readers and the sales that you need as well. All right. So to join me on this challenge, you simply go over to kindlecashflow.com /KSS. So kindlecashflow.com /K as in Kevin, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, and I'm going to show you how to get started with publishing a fiction or nonfiction, as in this case, book series, so that you are no longer doing what most people are doing. 99% of individuals are doing this. You want to be part of a 1% that are doing this, this, and this, right? It's the 80/20 rule, Pareto's principle, right? There's going to be those things that work better for you, and you just double down, you do more of those things. And publishing a series is one of those things, especially when you know how to do it the right way, right? So make sure you go in, you register, kindlecashflow.com /KSS. Save your seat right now. This is going to be one of these events that I probably more than likely won't do again because I taught this in my Kindle Cashflow program, and the students that actually took it and they followed along exactly as I taught and they didn't deviate, they had a much higher chance at doing better than those that didn't, right? Simply because it's the law of visibility, right? The more visible you are, the more you have a chance of someone finding you, right? It's just simple, 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 simple. It doesn't have to be rocket science. Now, the other thing is when it comes to a series, here's the other thing. When you have multiple books, so I'm gonna go back. This is my drawing right here. As Justin Trivet, who's in my group, and if you guys are not in the Publish Like a Pro group, right? You've got books number one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. If you're not in the Publish Like a Pro group, go in, you can register for free. You want to be around this group of individuals. These are some of the smartest people when it comes to writing and publishing and marketing. And it's a free group, right? So publishlikeapro.com. At some point, I will turn it into a paid group, but for now, you can get in and join us for free. Just come in. Here's the only thing that I ask. When you come in, you don't just come in and lurk. Come in and say, hey, look, my name's Ann and I'm from New Hampshire, and I publish, mystery thrillers, or my name is Joe and I publish personal development, right? So just come in and introduce yourself because we have a very warm, inviting community. We've got people that are literally in just tons of different countries that are out there, tons different age groups, different experience levels, right? So beginners, we've got people that are seasoned, that have published dozens of books, right? That are that are just crushing it when it comes to having bestsellers that are just starting out. So come in and introduce yourself. So now what happens is Justin kind of mentioned this, right? Underneath my post, and he says you can sell each book separately. Then you can create a compilation, a box set, right? Of all of the books in the series, and you sell that compilation for a higher price. And that's something that we teach in the Kindle Cash Flow program as well, right? So you can sell these bad boys individually, and we've seen this. All industries do this, right? If you think about like, for those of you that have children, or if you have grandchildren, and boys in particular, right? Hot Wheels or Matchbox, they would sell the cars individually, but then you can go and you can buy this 6 or 7 pack, right? Set. Right, so think about that. Barbie does that with the dolls, right? You could buy a doll individually, but then they have this collection you can go and you can buy it. You'll see other authors that do really well. Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, right? She'll have a set. So this is something that you should be practicing, whether you're a fiction author or a nonfiction author. And if you're just thinking about publishing just one nonfiction book, you're making a huge mistake. If you also want to see my video on the benefits of publishing a fiction series, I also uh, published that video and I created it and shared it on YouTube maybe about a week ago. So you can go in and you can find that on my YouTube channel, tycohen.com/YouTube. Make sure you go in and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what's been your biggest takeaway from this particular video. Let me know what are you going to go in and implement, and let me know most importantly, what are your thoughts now on series publishing as it relates to nonfiction? Because you've probably always been open to the idea of series publishing as it relates to fiction, but what do you think of series publishing as it relates to nonfiction? And as the late Wayne Dyer used to say, the way to really get this is what Wayne Dyer used to say, and that's being open to everything and being attached to nothing. So whatever your beliefs are about, nonfiction writers and authors and their ability to publish a series and how much time it's going to take and if anyone will ever, embrace it. But I want you to start thinking about that much more openly. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is before I close out this video, I want to share with you. I'm going to go over to Google here and I'm going to share who are the best selling nonfiction author authors who have series, right? So now let's see what Google says here. So if you look at some of these examples, and you let me know in the comments, right? Let's see. Malcolm Gladwell, right? So Malcolm Gladwell, a perfect example. We've got Stephen Hawking, another great example. We've got Eckhart Tolle, another great example, one of my favorite authors, right? You've got Brad Meltzer, another great example. Let's see, who else do we have? You've got Bill Bryson, right? Great example. You've got, and the list just goes on and on and on and on and on, right? So if these folks can do it, you definitely can do it. So don't make the mistake of publishing just one nonfiction book. Consider thinking about a series. Join us on the Kindle Series Secrets Challenge so that you can see where to start. You can see how to best position your nonfiction series, right? And then you can see how you should best go about selling this thing so that you get as many readers as possible to become aware of it and you make those sales. So kindlecashflow.com/KSS for Kindle Series Secrets, and I'll see you on the challenge. Stay well. Oh, and make sure that you go in and you join but Publish Like a Pro community by visiting publishlikeapro.com. Go grab your ticket to the challenge first because you don't want to miss out on that. And then go in and join publishlikeapro.com. So Kindle cashflow.com/KSS. I'll see you on the challenge.